mermaids, and welcome to the Red Barrels podcast. We did it, everyone. We got here. We didn't just get here, we got to episode 48. That's how many hours there are in 2 days. Yeah,
Wow.
think about that. Think about how the incredible thematic resonance that fact has on our podcast. And while you're thinking about that, you can listen to us introduce ourselves. It's me, it's Alex, hello. Who else is with me?
Me, I'm here. I'm also here. I'm Sofie. Hello. Who else is here?
Well, I am here as well. I'm Ed. You might know me as the co-host of the Red Barrels podcast if you've listened to the preceding 47 episodes, and I hope you have, because you're going to need to have heard every single one to understand even 1 second of this podcast.
Yeah, it's like
dripping
not
with
episodic
context,
in nature
dripping with
at
context.
all. Like you
But
need to know
You really
the
do.
overarching plot point.
Yeah. The lore. But that said, if you haven't listened to it, please don't stop listening. We need you. But
yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
I mean, you
That was a
wouldn't
joke.
believe how nested the inside jokes are. There have been like 50 inside jokes already, and if you haven't been
You just
listening
wouldn't
to
get
all
it.
of them, you don't get them. You don't get them. I mean, there's been like 6 callbacks to the first episode.
Mm.
How many people realize?
Yeah, I just got
How many
another one,
people
actually,
realise
7, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it. Well, even if you somehow are just plowing through without really understanding the actual things we're saying, I think you're going to enjoy this episode. It's a news episode, and before we get to the proper news, we're starting a new recurring segment for at least the next maybe year and a half or so, and it's going to be called "Have You Got That Memorized?" Because that's right, they showed a new trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4, and I want to hear what Sofie thinks about it. Sofie, what was your opinion?
Memorized.
Did you get it memorized?
Yeah, I did watch it. What's the movie that's in it?
Coco. It's
movie?
Coco.
Yeah, Coco, which I haven't seen. So I realized I had
pretty
this
good.
problem with the last Kingdom Hearts I had this problem with the last Kingdom Hearts that it was actually based on quite a few movies that I just hadn't seen. So like the nostalgia of the particular franchises that it involves for me are getting less and less relevant as time goes on. Although I would also argue that like Coco is not old enough for anyone to feel particularly nostalgic about it yet.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We're old. It's not just me wwho's old on this podcast. I'll
It's
tell you that
27.
much.
It came out in 2017, so if
Oh,
you
is
watched it when
Okay,
you were 10,
2017.
like you'll be
Yeah.
19 now, you might feel nostalgic for it.
Fair. That's fair.
We're all just
Yeah,
pretty
I
old.
mean, I think to be honest, the trailer was kind of erased from my memory because the thing I saw directly after the trailer was the actors for Sora and Riku on stage doing a live reenactment of that scene on the beach, which is really sad and depressing. And I almost cried, and I was like, "What's happening to me?" I don't remember why I've been so emotional.
Is it still Haley Joel Osment playing? Playing
Yes,
Sora?
Haley Joel Osment and something.
Some guy.
Gallagher?
Some guy.
Gallagher.
Riku was in the trailer. Were you excited to see Riku?
He was. I was excited to see Riku. He looks great.
No.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember all of it, but I mean that's the thing. I'll kind of always be a little hyped. The problem for me has always been that I don't have the platforms that it's on. So like ever since Kingdom Hearts 2, I've not been able to really participate in the hype. So like I'll be honest, if I had, a PlayStation when it comes out, I would absolutely buy it and I would absolutely play it just because I have to. I've played every main game in the series, but after Kingdom Hearts 2, I kind of was barred entry from getting hyped about it. I don't know. Do we know what platform it's releasing on?
I think
yet?
it will be. I think it's also going to be on PC. Square
That would
Enix
be,
are going all out, and they said they're not going to do any exclusivity anymore. They're just going to put
Good.
like Final
Yeah, fuck
Fantasy Rebirth or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the new one's called, is going to be on everything day one. So I
Okay.
think that's also
Yeah.
going to be true of Kingdom Hearts.
So I mean, yeah, chances are high that I might actually be able to play it, and I will probably play it on stream because it is
There you
like my
go.
most embarrassing game that I really like, and it is embarrassing. I am embarrassed.
No, the embarrassment it's part of the flavor.
It is part of the
Kingdom
charm.
Hearts,
It
Kingdom
is.
Hearts.
It is like I do think that Kingdom Hearts is like having a really embarrassing like food combination that you like soy sauce and ketchup. Or
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I used to eat toasted mayonnaise sandwiches. I'm not even joking.
Wow.
And that's really embarrassing, but I did fuck with it. And maybe if I made one now, who knows? Maybe I'd still fuck with it.
Maybe
I
you
don't
should
know.
live
I
your
haven't had
truth,
one.
Sophie.
Do
Maybe I should live my truth.
you toast it? Do you toast it?
It was like a toasted.
After the mayonnaise is put on it, or do you just
No,
toast
you
with
toast
mayonnaise
it with
on
the
it?
mayonnaise in it.
What?
Wait, so
Yeah,
wait.
it was 2 slices of white bread with mayonnaise. I think it was technically salad cream because
Okay,
we were a salad cream household, not a mayonnaise
Okay.
household, and that potentially either makes it worse or better for you, depending on who you are.
I think
And
worse.
so
And
you
that's
put this
In
To
your
be
body.
clear,
sandwich in a toaster.
I was 9 or younger. No, like a toasted, like a
Oh, I
grilled
see.
George Foreman
cheese,
like a
sort of-
grilled,
but
like a grilled
instead of
cheese sandwich.
cheese,
But
Okay.
instead of
it's
mayonnaise.
salad cream, and then like butter on either side, so that like a
okay.
normal sandwich. But
Well, I mean, to be fair, apparently, from what I've heard, like the
look, I am
grilled
embarrassed.
the grilled cheese sandwich experts say that you should use mayonnaise on the
They
outside.
do.
They
They
say
do,
that.
and I was just like,
And
well,
what on
just
the
put
inside
mayonnaise
again?
on the inside as
Cheese, generally, traditionally cheese.
Typically.
Listen, it's the whitest food that I ever consumed, and I'm okay with that.
No,
Mhm.
it's true. It's true. That's
And I
part
both
of
mean
your
white in
racial
color
heritage.
and also white in culture. Okay, it is a white ass food.
It might be the whitest thing that anyone's ever consumed.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
And I'm
It's
embarrassed.
hard to imagine. Yeah. Well, I think after that.
So Kingdom Hearts is my toasted mayonnaise sandwich.
Mm. That's
Right,
quite
well,
profound.
Has everyone got that
Disgusting.
memorized? Has everyone got that memorized? I don't think Ed knows this joke about got it
Got it
memorized.
memorized.
Got it
I don't.
memorized.
Is it from
That's-
Kingdom Hearts?
It's
I had such a
it's
crush
the
on Axel.
inexplicable catchphrase of a character. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason he says that. He just does.
And nobody else has a catchphrase either.
No.
Like,
Well,
nobody else has one. It's
as
just
you-
Axel.
As you guys know, after you talked about it on a previous episode, I then bought them all in a Steam sale, so they're all sitting there on my Steam
I
library ready to be
And
played.
inauspicious event.
Wait for you to play. I almost wish you were a Twitch streamer so that I could watch you fucking play Kingdom Hearts, Ed. I'm not even joking. I also think, just going back to Got It Memorized, and it's an especially cruel slogan considering his best friend suffers from chronic memory problems.
Yeah.
So, like, that's
so-
kind of not a nice thing for him to say, Axel. Like, actually,
No.
what the fuck?
And also,
Problematic.
there was an incident where he literally forgot everything that happened for like a year.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
So,
He doesn't got it memorized.
He doesn't got it
what we've
memorized,
learned.
well, I think on that incredibly, mind-shattering information we just learned, both about Kingdom Hearts and about Sophie, I think we've got to move on to the actual news. And first up, it's going to be
wasn't
Ed.
it?
Hi, yeah. Well, maybe I'll know more about this one than the Kingdom Hearts one. I'm going to be covering what's been the talk of the town for the last week or so. It's the slightly silly news of the Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Kirch. I'm gonna go with Kirch.
That's all right.
Has been having a public spat with one of Saber Interactive's former writers about the use of AI. So at the end of July, Saber Interactive, who you might know from remastering the first 6 Tomb Raider games alongside Aspyr recently, or for developing Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, they put out an announcement trailer for their upcoming game, Rideshare Stimulator. And Stimulator is an inverted commas, speech marks for some reason. I don't really know.
Stimulator?
I-
Stimulator.
I think it's meant to be like a joke that it's like
That
it
it's
would
not
be Rideshare
simulator,
Simulator,
it's-
but it's like wacky or something.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's odd.
That's okay, it's a little
and it-
too
yeah.
wacky for my
A
blood.
little too wacky. I mean, the game, based on the trailer, appears to be like kind of a comedic look, driving for rideshare apps like Uber and whatever. It seems to have a focus on like taking wacky passengers places and like maintaining your car and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, actually, this is kind of an aside I'm going to start with, because the first little bit of weird drama that came from this trailer was that the trailer included a reference to Randy Pitchford, the Gearbox CEO. I'm not sure if you guys remember, the one that famously accidentally left the USB drive full of porn behind at an event, and a
Yeah.
colleague of his embarrassingly discovered its contents, and it fell into myth and legend.
Yikes.
For some reason in this trailer, one of the character uses the word Randy, and then we see that the number plate of the car he's in is a USB DRV or like USB drive, basically. And
I
the
mean,
CEO of yes, that's terribly witty. But
yeah.
the CEO of Saber Interactive, Mac was asked about this, and he said it was an intentional jab. Quote, "Without Embracer, Randy is performing magic tricks at birthday parties for a living." End quote. Which what's so weird. What we
Well,
What?
but
don't
basically, both of these companies used to be part of the wider Embracer
Embracer
group,
group. Yes,
I'm not entirely sure how Saber managed to get out of it. I'm not sure how with Gearbox.
they
They
both
got out of it too
both
as
not part
well.
of it anymore.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
both not part of Embracer anymore. They
And
left it around the same
I guess
time.
maybe they had some issues when they were in that close proximity. I don't know.
They must have done it, but I believe this is the first we've known about it publicly that they seemingly have this sort of strange beef. But anyway, this is all a distraction. This isn't even the main story. I just came across this when reading it, and I felt like it was actually necessary to develop the character of
Yeah.
Matt Kirk, or maybe Kirch. I'm not certain. I'm sorry about that. So the actual story comes when a former employee of Saber Interactive, one Stella Sacco, also I'm potentially saying her name wrong, so please forgive me. She reposted this trailer on Blue Sky saying, quote, "I didn't even see this had been announced. I was lead writer on this one, and Saber replaced me with ChatGPT midway through development. All the passenger voices were AI too. Either they changed direction at some point, or they're not disclosing it on Steam." And in the same thread, she posted a screenshot of her saying in 2023 that she had been replaced on one of her games at work by ChatGPT. I believe you can see on LinkedIn as well that she was working there from July 2023 till July 2024. So it's like a pretty, it's not like some rando saying it completely out of the blue. Like, this does seem pretty plausible. She went further down the thread. She specifically said that this had come from top management in the company. She said, quote, "My boss, to his credit, argued over and over with the C-level, which I assume is corporate level, who pushed the AI. We already have Stella, and she's so funny and she's good at this. She's done live games before, so live ops are no problem, etc. But the suits insisted gamers love new tech, so using AI would be great marketing," end quote. Which is quite a funny thing to say. I'm not sure most
Yeah.
gamers' response to AI has been, "Wow, I love new tech. I can't wait to see some more AI-based games." And I guess partially because of that this thread gained a lot of traction online. Like, if you go to the game trailer on YouTube, or you go to the discussion page for the game on Steam, it's just absolutely full of people blasting the game for AI usage, and importantly for not declaring the AI usage. There's nothing on the Steam page or on the announcement which says in any way that any of this is AI. In response to this and it getting a little bit of buzz, the aforementioned CEO of Saber Interactive, Matt Kirk, I should really just double check his name here because I feel like I'm. Hold on, we can cut this in post, right, Alex?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. I've spelled it 2 different ways in my notes.
Every second of this is going in.
Hold on.
Every second. I'm not even going
Oh,
to...
it's Matt Karch. Oh, damn, I spelled it wrong on my first bit of my notes. Sorry, let me go back to the very start. No. This has led to the aforementioned CEO of Saber Interactive, Matt Karch, not Matt Kirk, my apologies, I typo in my notes. Matt Karch to come out publicly and say in a statement to PC Gamer, quote, "Neither Saber nor Unigen have replaced any writers with AI for Rideshare or any other game," end quote. He then said, "In fact, Saber's staff of writers has tripled since 2023. Rideshare's story was written entirely by real people. The game will also feature an experimental free ride mode that by necessity incorporates AI, as the number of passengers in the game is infinite. We are firm believers in using AI tools to improve or enhance gameplay experiences and improve NPC behaviour, as we have done since Saber was founded in 2001. As the industry has continued to contract, Saber continues to hire. None of our 3,000 employees have to worry about being replaced by AI." So, actually, I'll get to Sacho's response and then we'll go over that a little bit. So, again on Blue Sky, Sacho responded, quote, "I was there. It was my job to write the game, and then it wasn't once Matt Kirk decided using ChatGPT would be great publicity for the game," end quote. And as you can sort of see in the original response, in the original quote, Matt says that the story was entirely written by real people. That doesn't exactly rule out job losses for people writing the dialogue or really anything that isn't part of the story. Like, where does the story end? Does that mean the plot? Does that just mean the main campaign of the game or whatever that consists of? Like, there seems a lot of scope for both of these things to be true and Matt to have found a clever little way of hiding that fact. It also didn't explain why they hadn't flagged it as containing AI anywhere on the Steam page. So PC Gamer reached out again subsequent to that original statement And Matt Kirk replied saying that it was an experimental feature. That's why they hadn't declared it, but that they were going to update the page. All right. So I guess they accidentally forgot to include it because it was a new experimental feature, and now it's going to be added. Okay, sure. But what was particularly controversial was Kirk's statement on the 13th of August, so not that long ago as we record, in response to This Week in Video Games. He said, quote, "Stella who? I had to ask Claude because I'd never spoken to her or seen her. The entire story script, were it to win an award, would go to someone who can walk up on stage and receive it. It was always our intention to reveal this until Stella violated her confidentiality clause and revealed this before we were ready. We look at our use of AI in this particular game, which will be a lower price title, as a plus for consumers. As far as Stella is concerned, she was replaced by someone more talented and terminated for a variety of reasons a few months later. From what I can gather, she enjoys controversy even more than I do. I would frankly, in retrospect, have been happy to replace her with AI. At least we would be dealing with someone programmed to be honest."
Oh my god.
End quote. What the fuck? What the
What
hell?
the fuck?
What an insane thing to say
That's a
publicly.
crazy thing to say.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely
mental.
mad. I mean,
That's so
it's so
gloves off
petty
mean.
and like
Yeah.
embarrassing.
It's just mean.
I can't imagine like having to work with
God,
someone
can
who
you
would
imagine?
post that publicly.
No. God, that's embarrassing.
Look,
Wow.
I know it must be like frustrating to be called out like that. Sure, I get it. And like
Mm.
I could imagine, if it turned out he'd like been ranting about it privately, like, yeah, okay, I can imagine that you might do that. But imagine typing this all out and then thinking like, yeah, sending this out to journalists. That'll make me look great. What a misjudgment. I mean, in my
I
view,
feel
like,
like
how
yeah,
deeply unserious is that as a statement?
that is insane. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of misogyny there as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
That's
wouldn't be
just
surprised.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe the writer is trans as well, so there may be a little bit of a transphobia
Right.
mixed up in the whole thing.
Great. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just a really awful statement. I mean, we've seen some pretty bad like gaming CEO statements in the last few years, but which is what a weird like niche genre of thing, by the
Yeah.
way. Like, why does this keep happening? But it's very bizarre. In response to this, Sacco posted about it and said, quote, "I've seen the statement by Matt Kirk, the CEO of Saber, and all of the truly horrendous things he said about me. I think it should be obvious to anyone who reads that statement that he's lashing out because he did not want people to know there was an AI used in the game." She continued, "Everything I said was true. Here's more truth. The statement is remarkably pathetic for the CEO of any company to be making, and combined with the AI use, it will do far more damage to Saber's reputation than it ever could mine. This screed will be many people's first exposure to the Saber brand. Everyone will get to see what kind of man is running Saber," which, I mean,
Snap,
that's
snap.
exactly,
I know.
completely correct. And the most recent update to
So-
this story, was on the 15th, so just a couple of days ago from time of recording. It seems that Matt Kirk sent Sacco a long apology email. Sacco
Too
has
late,
posted...
man.
Yeah, I mean, you can't unsay it, right?
That's goofy.
But Sacco's posted about this, saying that in the email, Kirk apologized unreservedly, expressed a desire to make it right with her, although it's not really clear exactly what that looks like.
Yeah. Was it, she getting her job back from like a few years ago now?
A couple of years ago, not clear. Sacco said that as a trans woman, she's used to abuse from randoms online, but like it really stunk, I think was her words, to be attacked like this by someone with institutional power. Ultimately, she said that she does accept his apology. Quote, "Apologies are simply in too short supply these days to spurn one when it's offered," end quote, which, fair enough, that's her prerogative. Doesn't really affect how I view Matt Kirk, but
Nope.
fair play. But she also notes that this doesn't change the fact that they clearly have very different views on AI usage, when it should be used and when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And then the very last little update that I've got was from Kirk's LinkedIn. So after this email, he seems to have, which as I say, Sacco didn't actually send the text of the email around or anything like that. Kirk has posted something which, in my view, it's like sort of makes it feel worse to me on his LinkedIn. I'm not going to read it all because it's quite long, but I'll read you the opening sentence, and I feel like that gives you a flavour of it. He says, "I've had an insightful week reflecting on the unwritten rules and expectations."
Yikes.
Sorry. Sorry, I just had a meta pop up telling me that I need to give them permission to update. Hold on. Oh, it's doing it again.
Kirk's
Hold on.
listening, man. He's listening.
Yeah, he is. Sorry, I'll read the quote again. I've had an insightful week reflecting on the unwritten rules and expectations placed on modern CEOs. End quote. And like, I don't know, don't be a massive fucking prick to a
I'm
former
pretty sure that's a written
employee.
rule,
An
actually.
unwritten rule? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Pretty
I
sure
feel like
that's
someone's
not only a
probably
written
written
rule. I'm
that
pretty sure
down.
that's
That's so-
contracted.
so
Like
weird.
contractually obligated to not be mean to your fucking employees.
Yeah, the whole
That's the
post was
exact opposite of an
written.
unwritten rule. That's crazy.
Exactly. It was
That's
all in this
so
kind of like
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn ease of like,
Yeah,
framing it
that's
as
so
like, oh, I've been
LinkedIn.
on a learning journey. Like,
Yeah.
he
Or
said later
AI.
on, yeah, he said later on, quote, emerging tech like AI will always provoke strong reactions. While industry shifts are uncomfortable, hiding from them isn't an option. And that brings me back to the other unresolved element of this whole thing, which is if like hiding AI isn't an option, why did you literally hide
Why
the
did
fact
you
that
hide
AI was
it?
in your game until publicly
Yeah.
called out by an ex-employee? Like, yeah, okay, maybe it was a real error, right? Maybe that they would have fixed themselves. I don't know. Or maybe they were trying to obscure the fact that AI seemingly exists quite extensively in their game. If it sounds like from his earlier statement that that's going to be the entire basis for a whole game mode. Like, yeah, sure, it's an experimental feature, but like, I don't know. Maybe you should have mentioned it. How experimental is it? Did you come up with it like last week? Like, are you telling me there wasn't time to update the store page? Like, that, I don't know. That just does not feel reasonable to me at all. Yeah, as I say, we've seen some pretty ridiculous statements from senior people in the games industry recently. They sort of suggest this like sense of entitlement and arrogance that I guess comes from being in these positions of power with very little accountability, especially in a time when everyone's losing their jobs. Like, people are so vulnerable in relation to these people right now. But say what you want, like however you feel about AI, like you should be able to know whether it has AI or not. And clearly the systems in place to make it clear whether things do or don't have AI are not working. Just like with every single other AI thing at this point, where it's like, oh, this will be the safety valve. Oh no, this will be the safety valve. Like, it just seems to be failing. I don't know. I don't feel like people like Matt Kark should be in charge of getting to decide whether we know AI is in things or not.
No, I don't think so.
That's my take. Yeah. That's my summary of the story. Sorry, go on, Alex.
It is interesting that it kind of harks back to a time of like a couple of years ago when all these CEOs were like putting AI in their games. I mean, obviously they had a barely ulterior, but an ulterior motive of saving money or whatever.
Yeah.
But also they just thought it was cool. And they thought everyone thought it was cool. And they thought all the players would just be like really excited to see some AI in their games. I think that's probably what happened with like Arc Raiders when they had AI voices in there. And like because Game 6 goes on to develop even with AI, there's still like hangovers of that. Oh, and now they've all got to like try and hide it because they realize there's such a backlash.
Yeah, it's such an inconsistent series of statements, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know. Like, when did the PR team get involved? For example, just the email. Like, I guess, but it just doesn't really make sense to me. Like, as a sequence of events, I think that's partially why it's like seems to have captured people's imagination quite a lot.
Yeah.
It really does just hit on a specific. Like, it really represents the games industry right now, doesn't it? A fired or let go former employee being berated by a powerful CEO guy because he likes AI too much but doesn't want anyone to know about it. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
There's I don't know, there's an extra layer of annoyance that I'm still mad about the original. Obviously, like, such a petty statement towards the employee, and also just, I don't know, again, it just kind of reeks of misogyny in terms of like the public lashing, but the private apology. That's so, I don't know, that's so fucking shady. And like, of course, Saka just has to accept the apology because otherwise she looks petulant, especially in the games industry. She's going to look petulant and people are just going to be mean about it if she doesn't accept the apology. So of course she kind of has to. But also, side note, in all the things that she wrote about, the stuff that he wrote, great writer, shouldn't have let her go. She's like a really good writer, even in those like statements. So so
it said that one of the reasons why this has blown up as much as it has is not just because it's kind of just explosive in itself. It's that Saka is just like a really good like poster. So just like a lot of people
Yeah.
followed her on Blue Sky anyway. And so when she was able to say this, she had a big audience.
Stella who? I mean,
Good.
what a dick.
Yeah,
What a
shut the
dick.
fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
Stella
obviously
who,
just
and also
insecure
I have a
about the
lot
fact
of
that
really
she's actually quite well known on Twitter.
Here's all my specific opinions
Here it
about
is,
exactly
right.
what happened and when. Oh, okay,
Exactly.
well, which is it? Which is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. When I was first reading this, like, because I was sort of going through the articles chronologically as they came out, like, I saw that first story about the Randy Pitchford thing and like the deliberate courting of controversy there. I thought, I was like, I wonder if that was going to be an angle here. Like, was this going to be like, could this end up being something that I thought was like manufactured to like stir up people talking about them? But the way this played out, like, absolutely not, right? Like, this is so humiliating for Matt. Like, there's no way that anyone would come up with this as like a deliberate ploy to get people talking about your game, because he just looks so pathetic. It gives me a little bit of that Elon Musk vibe, just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's that, like, he started off, like, slagging off Randy Pitchford, who is a somewhat ridiculous figure in himself, right? But he's ridiculous because he's, like, the CEO of a game company who thinks he's, like, a personality and, like, wears ridiculous outfits and, like, I don't know if he's doing something quite as egregious as this, but he's known for being, like, outspoken and shit, right? And then this guy's just like, oh, nah, look at Randy Pitchford, he's an idiot. And also, I'm going to humiliate myself far more than Randy Pitchford has ever done. You know, it's just incredible.
Well, I think that's our summary of those those sacred events. Who's going to go next with the next item on the agenda?
I think it's going to be Sofie. Sofie's got
It's
something.
gonna
She's
be
got a
me.
juicy bit of news.
It's gonna be my... Yeah, so I'm going to talk about Roblox, my favorite game.
We all
That's a
love it.
joke. I've never played it. It is mostly children.
We're
which
old
does
people.
come
We're
up.
old people, as we were discussing
We're
earlier.
too old. We're too old for Roblox. It would be cringe if we played Roblox.
I play
So
Roblox
basically,
every
Roblox-
single day.
Do you, Ed? Yeah, what's your
No, I've
favorite
never-
Roblox game?
Oh, my favorite Roblox game is what's it called?
What's
It's
your
the
favorite
one.
Roblox?
It's the big blocks. That's my
Raw.
favorite
Is
one.
it,
Those
is
are
it not
good blocks.
Dress to Impress? That's one of the Roblox
No,
games, isn't it? That's
it wasn't
the big
Dress
one,
to
isn't it?
Impress. No, well, that's a bit too mainstream for me. I like the
I see.
niche.
I see, of
I like
course.
the indie
Right.
ones.
Right.
You're a Roblox sommelier.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that.
Mm.
Sorry, but go on. Go on.
Right. Yeah, so Roblox has not been doing too well. Considering
Oh.
how much it financially takes advantage of its audience, it's actually not doing too great at the moment. So Roblox, their stock price, they basically announced their sort of earnings on the 31st of July, and they're not doing too hot. Their stock prices have dropped. Their stock price has dropped by nearly 30%, basically, since they made this announcement. And if their losses hold, it looks like Roblox is on track to lose more than $10 billion from its market value. So we're not doing too hot. Basically explaining that player engagement and payments are both down. They're blaming this on a couple of things. Specifically, they're blaming a lack of viral games. So they haven't had like a Dress to Impress in like a while in terms of like a game that's just sort of busted out of Roblox, the confines of Roblox. They haven't really had a lot of viral successes lately, which is part of what they're blaming. And also that its players are kind of gravitating towards experiences with less monetization, so less microtransactions, essentially, because they've recently revamped their game recommendation algorithm that prioritized essentially player retention over more like cash grabby titles. So of course that kind of makes sense. So I imagine that might be a slightly predicted loss in terms of revamping their algorithm in that direction, but it does seem to be hitting them really badly because that was kind of the whole thing, I think, is that Roblox is highly, highly monetized, features a lot of games that have lots and lots of microtransactions in them. So they've kind of, shot themselves in the foot by revamping the algorithm. I suppose obviously player retention is a different metric when you're talking about kids. It's kind of not necessarily I mean, I guess it's slightly more ethical than trying to squeeze as much money out of kids as possible. Player retention is obviously also not really a very ethical metric to prioritize when we're talking about, you have to be 13 years old to sort of be able to sign up for a Roblox account without your parents' permission. If you're under 13 years old, then you do need your parents' permission, which I'm sure is easy to work around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Roblox, it's basically doing so badly that they've also declined to offer earnings estimates for the rest of the year. So clearly seems like they're also expecting things to get worse. This is the third quarter in a row that their player base has dropped. And they've had a bad couple of years. They've been, facing criticism for its poor safeguarding of children. Again, majority of its player base is children. A poor introduction of an age and identity verification procedure to address this, which was criticized as both inadequate and also super buggy, requiring people who are like far over the age of 18 to sort of like frequently revalidate their ages. And also CEO David Baszucki calling the problem of predators on Roblox an quote-unquote opportunity. So,
I've forgotten about
that. Yeah. So it's not been a good, couple of years for Roblox in terms of either PR or financial performance. So, yeah, that's kind of all I have written down for this.
Well, I think, Roblox is a weird thing because, I mean, it's so awful in so many ways. And I'm sure I mentioned this the last time we talked about Roblox, but I would recommend the two-part People Make Games videos about Roblox, just to lay out what it is and how incredibly bad it is. Because I imagine most of our audience is probably not literal children. We got to maybe work on our expansion to work to children, since apparently that's where the money is. Or maybe not so much.
Well, maybe
now.
not. Yeah,
maybe not.
That's where all the kids have gone. They're all listening to our show instead of playing Roblox.
That's it. They love the bright colors and happy voices that they get from Red Barrel's podcast. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice to imagine their downfall, but it's become, from as far as I can tell, it's become so kind of central in the lives of and like childhoods of all these children that like you wonder, like, I mean, that's bad, but I mean, just imagine if, like, I don't know, not just like your favorite TV show you liked when you were a kid went off the air, but like all the TV you watched just went off the air. That would just be kind of weird and awful as a child. And I don't know if you really want to, wish that on children, really. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I don't really know what the answer is, but, if at the very least the money men in charge of Roblox get fucked over, I wouldn't be adverse to seeing that.
I'm trying to see if there's any information about actual player counts, but I'm struggling on it.
I mean, it's colossal. It's so much larger than you could possibly imagine.
I mean, as in just like when it peaked and like has it been on a decline or not? I mean, current players at time of recording, there are 19 million current players right now.
Just right now.
The all-time peak was 47 million.
Yeah.
That seems to be a bit of an outlier. For a while it was hitting like just under 40 million, like quite consistently for most of like 2022, 2023. And since then, like it's been basically declining. And the around 20 million mark is pretty regular now. So it has sort of like more or less halved in the last like 2 years, their average player count. That's quite a big shift.
Yeah, it sounds that way. But I mean, it's worth saying that like 40 million, when it used to be that, is about the population of Canada. If the entirety of Canada played
people, isn't it?
That is a huge massive number of people.
Played the game, and like 20 million. I mean,
that's nothing.
That's nothing. That's nothing. Who cares?
40 million is loads, but 20 million, what's that?
Yeah,
really.
But I mean, it's just unbelievable amounts going through that, and with so little oversight. Like the government clearly has barely any idea that this exists, or let alone what it is.
That is a crazy number. I mean, imagine that currently no one in London is playing Roblox, and then every single human being in London started to play Roblox. They still wouldn't be back up to their 2022, 2023 average.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy numbers.
It's insane. So, I mean,
Damn, maybe we're missing out. Maybe this should be a Roblox podcast. I mean, RB, Red Barrels, Roblox. Like, it feels like we're pretty close
halfway there
anyway.
already. Halfway there already.
Okay, we should get a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the money is.
Tune in next week for our first episode of the Roblox podcast. Presumably, no one's thought of doing a Roblox podcast yet. I imagine.
I know what's that meme of those? It's like those kids, like literal children, like doing a podcast and talking about, I don't know, some kid thing who's saying they're pretending to be a podcast. Yeah, it'd be like that. But more depressing.
I don't know what you're
because we're
talking
not
about,
actually
but
children.
It sounds great. Well, we're pretty young. We're pretty young.
You're not young
Some of
anymore.
us.
You're not young anymore. Remember,
Statistically speaking, I'm in the first half of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
remember, Coco came out almost 10 years ago. And but everyone thought that was just a recent movie. I remember Coco the other day, almost 10 years ago. Just think about that. Just percolate on that. I'm not the only old one. Anyway,
You heard it here first.
not for much longer. Not for much longer.
Hush, child.
Shh, it's gonna be okay.
No, it won't. This is the beginning of the decline. Yeah, so we should probably move on, right?
Yeah. I think only our dear Alex is yet to go.
That's true.
So,
it's true.
Alex, please enlighten us.
I've got some news. I got some news a bit more kind of fallout from the terrible Xbox layoffs that they had about a little over a month ago now. And in particular, we're going to be talking about id Software. id Software, the people who made the Doom games, Quake, and most recently they made Doom: The Dark Ages, and pertinently, big piece of DLC came out literally like in 2 days after the layoffs hit. And of course, we should say upfront that all Microsoft games are under BDS, so we recommend you don't buy them. But obviously, we still have sympathy and solidarity with the people who are still working there. You know, it's quite a lot to just ask them to quit their entire job, especially in this industry. So we're going to hear a bit of that because we heard from Chris Hayes, who is the lead services provider at id Software. And he survived the layoffs. He's still working there. But he went on a podcast. And that podcast is, it's German, although the interview here was in English. Podcast is called Auf ein Bier, which means for a beer. I will say some of the Auf ein Bier. Auf ein Bier.
Ein Bier?
Some of the reporting on this has been quite
What was it
bad.
called, Alex?
Auf ein Bier.
Ein Bier?
My family's German, you know. Revel in my incredible ability of German, which I did for a couple of years in high school. Didn't even do GCSE. So sorry, Grandad.
Wunderbar.
Back in the last millennium.
Yeah. No need for that. There's no need for that. No need to carry that on.
Fuck you.
I will say that the reporting on this has. I would say I don't want to slag off our journalistic colleagues in video game journalism because we're video game journalists too. We don't just read articles we've read off the internet. We've done interviews, but the reporting on this has been quite bad. This podcast was quite repeatedly referred to as a well-played podcast, essentially because they've got like kind of a subheading for that on the thumbnail. That is not the name of the podcast, as you can see if you just look at the YouTube channel name. Also,
that's drive you mad.
Chris Hayes' name is misspelled in a lot of them. He does not have an E at the end of his name. So,
to be fair, I spelt Matt Kark's name wrong in all of my notes. Well, for some of my notes. So,
listen, we're amateur journalists. These
we are
people
amateur
are paid
journalists.
to do their job.
We are not paid. These people are paid, so buck it up. I'm talking about. I'm getting interested in ethics and game journalism now. Not really. Don't worry about it. But anyway, so he appeared on this podcast. To be honest, because this podcast in German, I'm not entirely sure what the deal of this podcast is. They talk, as far as I can tell from the other episodes, they talk about games. It's a games podcast, as you'd imagine. But exactly how they got this guy and what, they don't appear to have had many other interviews with people about like labor issues or anything. So I'm not really sure about like where they are like ideologically, for instance. because a lot of what was talked about in this interview is actually the union there, part of the CWA, the Communication Workers of America. They have a chapter in id, as they have chapters in a bunch of like Bethesda game studios. There's one in Blizzard. They've got now a bunch of them in Microsoft. And actually something that Chris talks about is how this kind of came about, that during the buyout of Activision that Microsoft pulled off, at that time, I guess one of the few good things that Biden did in America, because he was this is between the two Trump presidencies that this happened, the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, was actually relatively strong, and they were also kind of really scrutinizing this merger. So they did actually manage to get some concessions out of Microsoft of allowing them to unionize. So they did not stand in the way of unionization. So as a result, there are now a bunch of union chapters of the CWA across Microsoft. And Chris Hayes is part of that. And we'll get onto that in a sec. But he kind of talked at first about what it was like to work at before all this happened. And I was kind of maybe a little surprised to find out, though maybe I shouldn't have been, because the games they make are generally very high quality, that apparently it was like a very good place to work, at least in relative terms in the games industry. They did have crunch sometimes, but apparently they had very low turnover, unlike almost everywhere else in the games industry. They apparently had like a thing that they would like to hire to retire, i.e. that they would hire people essentially for life until they retired, have long-term people. And apparently, Chris Hayes has been there since they made Rage, which was an Xbox 360 game. So that's quite a long time now. And, there's a lot of old timers there, like people, and that's part of the reason they were able to be a relatively small company to make AAA games, because without all that turnover, they had people who actually remembered how these games were made, and they could do a lot more with fewer people, which is like part of the tragedy of all these layoffs, is that by chucking all these people out of their jobs, they lose all their institutional knowledge. And so when they do have to hire new people, they're brand new people who have none of that, and the games are slower to come out, and they take a lot and more time and money to make, because all these people who've never made a game before, never made this type of game before, whatever. So, it seemed like a pretty good place to work. And because of this situation where it was relatively small studio to make AAA games, they kind of expected to weather the layoffs that they kind of worked out were coming pretty well. So while they were sure they'd get some layoffs, on the day when it was announced, the way it worked out, that is that half of them were taken off basically everyone was given a meeting they had to go to, and one half of them were going to the meeting where they kept their jobs, and the other half went to the meeting where they were told they were no longer employed. But there weren't any clear indications of how many people were in each group and so on. Apparently, it was a video call, but you can't see anyone else on it or something, just the CEOs or whatever. So basically, they afterwards they're coming together, especially because they had this union organizing, they were able to coordinate, and they slowly realized just how many people were gone, and they were basically horrified. And Chris said, and this is a quote, "It is hard to make a game that is AAA, that is like we've done before, with half the people. And by hard, I mean impossible. It's hard to make a game when there are entire departments that you need, entire disciplines that are gone." And, you can tell in this interview that he's deeply kind of emotionally affected by what happened. And it was extremely upsetting for him. And there's a real sense of frustration that he just sees, and I don't doubt he's right, that it's impossible for them to make games anything like they were making with the people they have left. So from what he thinks, they're going to inevitably have to hire people again, and then that's just going to cause more issues. So, but I think when we talked about this issue in the past, we talked about how people have been talking about, and in fact, the heads of the studio had put out this thing that they are now about the size they were when they made Doom 2016. The implication being that, we can still make good games, right? Doom 2016, people like that game, so we can make that again, or a game of that scale. As you might imagine, Chris does not agree with this. He added there have been reassurance from hires up that we are still the same id in the wake of the layoffs. And they also said that they had not been nerfed into the ground and gutted. Hayes does not agree and says, we're not the same id, we're half the same id. And he talks about how, games now just take more, Doom 2016 was an Xbox 360 game. I think Xbox 360, I believe it was.
I
Maybe
thought
it
it was the
wasn't.
next generation.
Maybe it was PS4. But, that was still over a decade ago now, I think. And
It was 2016, I think, mate.
good point. Well, it depends when in 2016 it came out. I'm not way off. Games have got more expensive to make as like the technology and so on improves. And the complexity increases. So basically, he just thinks that was nonsense, and he believes that they were just given talking points they had to say from Microsoft. Rightly or wrongly, Chris doesn't really blame the actual management of the studio that much. He says he aims most of his ire at Microsoft themselves. He also talked about how difficult it's been to work with Microsoft, that Microsoft wouldn't give any kind of metrics that they had to meet. So obviously, since Microsoft had their whole thing about Game Pass, that meant that game sales didn't really matter, at least anywhere near as much, right? Because so many people who play the game are just going to play it through Game Pass. But Microsoft also wouldn't give them any actual metrics that they did want to meet. So like, I don't know, hours played or the number of people playing it or anything like that. Even something, it's maybe not the best art, but something they can like aim for to make sure that they are like, a profitable concern within Xbox. And they wouldn't even give them that. So they couldn't make anything that like matched whatever it is their expectations were. It's worth saying that the guy interviewing suggested that or I think he said that he'd heard that the issue might simply be that because, as I mentioned, they just put out the DLC for the most recent Doom game. Like it literally came out like 2 days after the layoffs hit, and they weren't going to do a second DLC or anything. So that means that their slate is basically clear after that, right? I'm sure they've got pre-production on other games or had pre-production on other games they're going to be making, but they haven't gone into full production or anything because they're just still working on Doom. So that means that unlike another studio that might be in the middle of making a game, and so a bunch of money has been sunk into that project, and so Microsoft might feel they can't cut heavily in that because they want a return on that investment. In this case, there simply has not been an investment yet. So yeah, this is just a studio that you can just cut freely from, regardless of the actual quality of the work. And Chris kind of suggested that may be the case, and to me, I think that sounds very likely. I think that's extremely likely to be the case. So probably the most damning thing that Chris said was that he basically does not think that Xbox or Microsoft understand the business at all. He said, they don't understand art, they don't understand games, they don't understand the business model. And he said, when you cut half the studio and don't take into account how a game is made, you don't understand that the cohesion between our teams was what made us successful. So, this got quite a lot of publicity on the internet. As I said, it was reported on, though not incredibly well. But something having watched the entire interview myself, something I was a bit disappointed was not talked about much, is how much Chris talks about the union he's in. He spends a huge amount of this time talking about the union and how valuable it's been and how important it's been to everything that's happened. So an issue that they have in America, to be honest, I'm not up on employment law here, so I'm not entirely sure how it works. Hopefully it's better than this, because generally we have at least slightly better employment laws in America. In America, there's something called the WARN Act, which means that if you're going to be laid off, you are given 60 days notice, basically. But the way that companies have interpreted that is essentially they do fire you immediately, but you just get paid and get benefits for another 60 days. But this means that the union is able to kind of jump into action and try and basically get these people immediately rehired, because they are still technically hired. Although it's worth saying that 60 days is kind of running out. The layoffs happened on the 6th of July. So, we're about halfway through August. So there's not that much time left. And my suspicion is that they probably won't, because apparently Microsoft, while their initial relations with the union or various unions was fairly cordial back when they started, and they were still negotiations around Activision. As soon as apparently the ink was signed on that, apparently basically it's got worse and worse since then, and Microsoft has been playing a strategy of slow rolling things. So they basically, if they really wanted to deal with deal with a labor issue or the employees having an issue, they could just go into negotiations and just whack them out until they're done, right? Just ham them out, go in for a day, a couple of days, full time or something. But instead, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we can give you an hour next week, maybe 2 hours the week after, something like that." And so these negotiations drag along on and on and on. And obviously, Microsoft are just playing for time. Essentially, I think that's pretty clear. I would say that's my editorializing. I'm not putting that on Chris, but I think that's pretty clear. That's what's happening. But luckily, the various game unions within Microsoft have actually been kind of cooperating. And I will say one of the things that's just remarkable is that to hear this guy, Chris, who is a current employee of Microsoft, talking so clearly and honestly about the situation. And he only feels free to do that because, at least America, and I'm not entirely sure the situation here, he has legal protections if you are talking about labor issues, which is all he's talking about in this interview, right? But, I do recommend this interview to anyone. Alpine Beer, was it? Alpine Beer?
And beer?
Alpine Beer. Do check it out because it's a really interesting watch. And there is worth saying that something he doesn't say, Chris, but I think reading between the lines you can infer is that people who have, helped organize the union, important people in the union, have probably been targeted by these layoffs. And obviously, we're not making any pronouncements, but it has been suggested that Rockstar have done something recently quite similar to that. So obviously, this is a tactic that is used, at least theoretically, by companies. And so keep that in mind. But to finish this off, I want to read, it's a bit of a long quote, but it's really good and really gets to the heart of why the union was important. So the interviewer asks basically if he has any tips to anyone looking to organize in their studio. And Chris says, yeah, well, first of all, yes, do it. Unionize for sure. That is without a doubt. This process has been one of the worst things that we've experienced, but we have support. If the industry is going to keep going in this direction, it's got to happen to someone at some point. I.e., it's going to happen to any person who's going to be laid off in some way eventually, is what he means by that. I believe earlier this year, we're at a third of all positions in the industry had been let go. I don't know if that's just the United States, but we're getting closer to half. Huge, huge losses. People are going to get laid off. So you're going to have the same experience at some point. But for the people who aren't represented, when that call came in and they were told, well, your position is no longer available, they were handed their severance package if they got one. It's not even legally required in the United States. And then be told, you're done. And that's it. Done. No recourse, nothing. If they thought that something wasn't fair about that, they had to know they had to know that it was unfair. They had to know to get a lawyer, and then they have to pay for a lawyer, and they have to go to court over it. And what we have is wonderful, talented, experienced people who are here for us. And so when this happened to us, immediately, they're like, we're getting legal filings right now. They're giving us the information. Gather evidence. We're going to start going to work immediately. And they have been working tirelessly to make sure the law is followed and we are supported. And knowing that that's what I would have to do myself on my own if I was not in a union, and it wouldn't happen. And most people don't do that unless they're an executive who gets let go, and then they sue. Most people aren't going to go through that process. And so, yeah, if someone who is thinking about it, is this a way? Yes, do it. It will help. At the very least, they're going to have to listen to you. They are legally required to sit down with you at the bargaining table and go over the issues. So bare minimum, you're getting your voice heard, and that is huge, especially when you get bigger and bigger companies where management is more disconnected from actually what happens on the ground. So I think that's really boiled down. What his overall message was, that how important the trade union. I mean, obviously the layoffs happened and they've been somewhat unable to stop them. They are still fighting to try and get people reinstated or recompensated. So the story's not over on that. But even if they don't manage to do that, just having the union in place allows you to have representation and get endless amount of help, even if you are ultimately going to be laid off. I would say since this interview, they've been holding various kind of rallies and other kind of actions and so on. And in particular, they recently, the CWA set up a huge inflatable rat on the lawn of Bethesda Game Studios on a day when kind of Asher Sharma, the CEO of Microsoft, and a bunch of other execs went to they had made a bit of a PR thing that they all went to go play the new Elder Scrolls game that's in development to basically promote the fact that they are making Elder Scrolls, we swear, essentially. Now, this giant inflatable rat, this is like a tradition in America that unions would have these inflatable rats that they set up in front of workplaces that they don't like to say that they are all rats in there. It's probably see it in like New York a lot. And they also put up like hundreds of little red flags on the lawn, and each flag represented a person who's laid off. So, they're active, they're working, and hopefully they can ameliorate this in some way. And, something else that Chris talks about is that the only way that the workers can ever have any say in what the company does as a whole is through the union. And as the union builds, hopefully one day they can have an even bigger say and stop this kind of idiocy of the mismanagement of Xbox entirely. I mean, that's a very lofty dream, but the bigger they are, the more powerful they are, the more they can get up to that. So yeah, I think we can all say that, offer our solidarity to the CWA and the various unions in Microsoft.
Yep.
And
agreed.
And to Comrade Chris Hayes, I will say he did not seem he's very much, if you've done any kind of union organizing training, first thing you learn is to basically not be ideological about it. He did not seem like a, committed Marxist or something. I don't really know what his overall opinions are, although he did mention the DSA at the very end as people who do provide union training, and he said that in positive terms. So maybe he's pretty good, but it's just the fact that joining the union is very much in your own personal interest to do that, and that's why he got involved. And that's why most people get involved. Yeah,
some classic tactics there from Microsoft. We're seeing really. Those are the sorts of things they talk about. All of these things are things they talk about on those kinds of union trainings, aren't they? Like we haven't really got that much time to have this discussion, so we need a little bit here, a little bit there. It's like classic them setting out the stall of it's on our terms and we're big leaguing you. Actually, we've got more important things to do than talk to you. Like absolutely classic tactic. And solidarity with the affected members.
Well, I think that might be it for the episode. I think I know. Can you guys smell the end of the episode? I think you can smell it, right?
Ugh, God, what is that?
It's rancid.
Oh, is that the end of the episode?
I know. It's horrible to think about that an episode could ever end. I mean, as tempted as I am to go on for another 4 hours, I think we do have to wrap it up.
And Lord knows you are.
I dream of it. But sadly not. It is the end of the episode. And that means it's time to say that it would be really nice. I would be so personally moved and emotional if you just did me a solid. Your old pal Alec did him a solid and just shared us on social media and reviewed us on Spotify and iTunes. Apple Podcasts. Wouldn't that be great if you did that? If you're all pal Alex, he's always in your ear telling you about unions and smells and...
He's such a good guy.
Do it for me. Do it for old Alex, eh? Not that old. He's not that old, but do it for Alex, yeah. Do it for surprisingly young Alex.
Young Alex.
Yeah. But either way, do that. And when you do that, you can make sure to tell people about us on Twitter @RedBarrelsPod or on Blue Sky @RedBarrelsPodcast.bsky.social. For me personally, Alex, who I was just talking about, you can find me on @AlexDean, ALEXDUIN on Twitter, and same name .bsky.social on Blue Sky. Sofie, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Sofie, although I was supposed to be streaming today, and I didn't. I'm here with you instead.
So
She's cat sitting. She's cat
What do
sitting.
you like?
Nothing can be done. The cats demand it. The cats demand it.
Cat demand it.
Ed, how can people find you?
Meow. You can find me on Blue Sky and Not a Lemon, or on Twitter at Still Not a Lemon.
Of course. And of course, the music, as always, is from Brilliant Drink. We love them.
It's a particularly lovely piece today, I thought, from Brilliant Drink.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Every single time, it's both the intro and the outro, especially performed and subtly differently composed.
Yeah.
So listen out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always gets a little bit better.
Just a little bit better.
Uncanny, really.
I think so.
Yeah.
Apart from that around episode 40 incident, that was dreadful, but we addressed that. We had harsh words to say.
Hey, none of our words for Brilliant Drink are harsh, but we staged an intervention in a very loving and caring manner, and things immediately went back to normal. Very high quality. But that really is going to be it. So we are going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Why did you say it with a question mark at the end,
Why
Alex?
not?
Yeah, I was like,
Bye?
bye.
Bye.
You confused and you scared me.
Bye.